Okay, so moving back to the selection select by location. So let me just activate as well the districts that I have exported a while ago. So what if I want to select the building footprints inside those exported districts a while ago? So what I can do is to click on select by location and then choose the building footprint since I will select from this layer, and then choose the geometric predicate. So we have different types of predicate, and you can see it here in slide 8. So intersect means that if it's inside, if it overlaps, or if it even touches at one particular point, it will be added to the selection. So for this one, the bounding boundary or bounding box is the orange square, and we have intersect. We will select circles 1, 2, and 3. So 1 is inside, 2 overlaps, and 3 it's tangent, or it meets at one point with the bounding box. So for contain, since our circles are much smaller than our bounding box, we will have no selected features since no circle contains the whole bounding box. So for this joint, it is basically the opposite of intersect. So the one feature that is not joined with the bounding box is circle number 4. So it will be the selected feature. And then for equal, since this is a square, you can see that there's no equal area with our 2 layers. So there will be no selection again. So for touch, this is what I said a while ago, that it just intersected at one point, or we can say that it is tangential. So only feature 3 or circle 3 will be selected. And then for overlap, we have circle number 2, which a whole area or half of the area overlaps with our bounding box. And lastly, we have within. So only circles that are completely inside the bounding box will be selected. So for this one, it will be circle number 1. So for our example, since I don't want to cut out, for example, I don't want to cut out the building footprints, and I only want the building footprints that are completely inside the districts that I have exported. So this way, can you guess, or can you tell me what geometric predicate will I choose? Should I choose? So just answer in the chat box. So we have intersect, contain, disjoint, equal, touch, overlap, within, cross. So no guesses. Oh, okay. Okay, so yeah, we have overlap, we have within, we have contain. Okay, so again, since I wanted to select the buildings that are completely within the bounding box or the districts, I will choose within. So if you check again here, our within is the only option where the whole thing is should be inside the selector or the selected area of interest. So very good to those who have answered, and it's okay, we can still learn more about this. Okay, so after that, I'll just run the tool. And it will not produce a new layer, but instead it will be just selected. So let's compare. Okay. Buildings inside my districts here are selected, and buildings outside shouldn't be selected. There. So perfect. Those that are inside are selected. Those that are outside were not selected. And with that, what can we do is to, while the buildings are selected, we can export them. Make sure to choose Save Selected Features As. And usually, when we don't need to add it to JOSM or to other mapping platforms, we can just choose S3 shapefile. So don't be scared because of that S3. It's still the same shapefile format that we are used to. And then let's just save it as buildings. Okay, so let's try to remove these. And you can see that I have now the exported districts and the exported building footprints. So, okay. Let's move forward. So before we move forward to the coordinate reference systems, do you have any questions for the first part of our session? Okay. So if none, then maybe we can move forward to discussing what coordinate reference systems are. So this is a bit complex, but it's very useful if we want to do more geospatial processing using QGIS, because it's important to know the difference between a geographic reference system and a projected reference system. So the usual reference system that we see in our maps and in our models are WGS84. So it's a geographic coordinate system that is based on a sphere. So basically, the units that we use when a model is based on a sphere are degrees. So this is very difficult if we want to compute for distances, areas, because we need actual measurements for that. So since WGS 84 cannot do that, we need to have a different projection for our coordinate system. So make sure that if you encounter a WGS 84 layer, don't create uh, calculations of distances and areas for your layer. First, you need to project or reproject your layer into a fitting projected coordinate system. So when I say projected, it's like the data is being modeled on a flat surface. So it allows us to have distances in meters, kilometers, miles. And this is important for us if we want to compute for distances and geometrical parameters such as area, even volume. If we have elevation models, we can also compute for the volume. And how do we know what projected CRS to use? So we have different projected CRS. So we actually have here, wait, where is that? Okay, this reference is epsg.io. So for example, here I search for Bhutan so that I know what projected reference system can I use. And so if I go back to my QGIS project, in order for me to check what coordinate reference system am I working on, I can go to the bottom right of my QGIS and see that the whole project is working on EPSG 4326, and that is actually WGS 84. So if you click on it, you will see that the properties of the reference system and the different details about the WGS 84. And also, if I pan over the layers that I have, you can quickly see if it's WGS 84 or not. So for this one, it's WGS 84 since it's 4326. Okay, still 4326. And even for the administrative boundary, it's WGS 84. So what I can do now is to go to my processing toolbox. So if you don't have this layer or window available yet, what you can do is to click on processing and click on your toolbox, and this layer will show. So let me show you processing toolbox, and then it will instantly show. So this for me is like the Google or the browser web engine of QGIS. If I want a process, I will just type the keyword and it will show me what tool to use. So if I type reproject, you can see here that there is a reproject layer tool. And for this one, I want to try reprojecting the Bhutan districts, the whole Bhutan districts. And then, since I saw from my reference, this one, EPSG.io, that I can use Bhutan National Grid, I will look for that. And then select this projected reference system. So let us see. This red bounding box basically means that the area inside it is suitable. So if you want to use it for whole Bhutan, since it encompasses, it is within the whole Bhutan, then it is suitable for the whole country. And you can see here in the properties that the units that PCRS uses is meters. And we have different details if you would like to explore it further. So let's run it. And now we have a reprojected layer of the administrative boundaries of Bhutan. So now since I have a temporary layer, what I can do is to export it as a new shapefile. I can save it as a reprojected Bhutan administrative boundary. You see that it has changed from the default WGS 84 to the Bhutan National Grid. Okay, then we can remove the temporary layer. So it's important to save that because if you have a temporary layer and later on your QGIS, you want to close your project, the temporary layer will be removed since it's temporary. So you need to create another layer for it. So now that we have reprojected it, we can create or simply calculate for the area or the distances or different geometrical parameters of this layer. So for me, I'd like to compute for the area of the districts. So how do I do that? I go to the field calculator and make sure to create a new field. And let's just put area or this district area. this area. And since area parameters are usually not whole number, but I think decimal number, we can choose real or decimal number for our field type. And under that, we need to find geometry and click on this area. So I prefer to use this one because the difference between the one with the dollar sign and the one with no dollar sign is that if you have value, your layer has ellipsoidal values and calculations, you will get ellipsoidal area. So if it doesn't have ellipsoidal values, or it's not referred to an ellipsoid, then you will just get the planimetric or the plane area. So this for me is much better. And instantly we have calculated the areas of the districts in square meters. So remember, we saw that in the properties, the units is meters. So for area, it will be square meters. So if you see in our slides here, uh, the equation is divided in 100,000 or 1 million. So this is to lessen the numbers here. So if you want to do that, you can actually do it. Oh, wait. Yeah, or just leave it as is. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So make sure that you save your edits so that the area field will be available. Okay. So I think we have tackled this whole section here. So far, do you have any questions?
No questions in the chat yet.
Okay. So maybe I was talking too fast. I'm so sorry. I'll try to talk slower. Okay. So now if I check the attribute table again, I have area. And if, for example, I would like to create a map showing classified district areas for Bhutan, what I can do is to open this styling layer. So usually in QGIS, if you want to change the symbology for a layer, you right click, then um, open properties and open symbology. But if you have multiple layers, that will cost you a lot of time. So I prefer to open this layer styling panel so that whenever you want to change the symbology of different layers, you can just simply select them and you see that the options here are also changing. So for this projected administrative boundary, I want to classify it um, based on the area values. So for example, let's have 5 classes. We can do quantile, we can do equal interval, we can do different types of classification methods. But for us, let's just choose quantile. Now you can see the different uh, district areas classified into 5 levels. So if you want to change the color ramp, you can just find different color combinations. And don't be afraid to select the create new color ramp because there will be different color ramp types available for you to try. So we have different color ramps available other than the ones that are readily available from this tool. Okay. But since for this one, I'm dealing with one parameter only, it is not suggested to deal with or to get different colors for the symbology. So if you are representing one parameter, it is suggested to use like monochromatic or just different strengths of color with one base solid color. So for this one, it's color blue. And then if you want to add labels, just go here on the label tab and add single labels. You see here, you see Bhutan, because the value is the country names. So let's choose district names. And since some labels are not clearly seen, we can add buffer around it. So usually this is the basic labeling technique, black font with a white buffer around. And you can see that some of them are not really placed properly. So one good thing about QGIS is that you can manually move these labels and arrange them properly. So if you can see this icon here, the arrow with ABC or the label, you just need to click on it and then click on one, for example, this one, and then choose the name underscore one. So it will lock in your chosen value. And then every time that you move a label, it will not ask anymore since you have indicated that only name underscore one will be movable. So now you can just simply arrange your labels so that it will be a bit on the center or within your boundary. Okay, if you are finished, what we can do now is to create your map layout. So how to do it in QGIS? So in ArcGIS, I remember that you have data view and layout view. So basically, this is the data view of QGIS. And to have your layout view, you need to open a print composer. And you have to have an initial name for your map. So let's just say this is Bhutan districts. And then now you have a map canvas. So in order to customize the size of your map layout, you just need to right click and then choose page properties. And then for example, you want to map it in A2 size of map. And I want it to be landscape. You can even choose A0. That is a really big map. So usually for province boundaries and POIs, we choose that. So let's just use A2. And we can pan the layout. Okay, we don't have any feature to pan, but later on, I'll show you how this can be used. And we can also zoom in and zoom out or use this one as well. But the important thing here is when we can add the map that we have here on our data view. So to add that, you just need to click on this icon, add map, and then make sure to be mindful of your margin, and then your map is added. So for your main map, you can even add grids if you want to add the latitude or longitude. You can add your grids here, create a new one, and modify it based on your application or your needs. You can also add a frame if you want. You can also add a colored background. So for example, I'd like to have a blue background. Oh, that's not a good design um, way because the symbology is already in blue. So you need to have a contrast for the background. So maybe let's just use this one. So a bit beige. So neutral, and it is contrasting the color of our symbology. So you can also change the scale of this one. And also, if you have selected a particular scale, you can lock that in. And even if you move, zoom in or zoom out of this map layer, you can still just copy and paste that scale later on. So for example, I can just copy this one and I can play around with my layout. So if you want to move items within the map, what you can do is to first click on the map and then choose this icon, move item content. So with this, you can move the map sideways, center it, or you can even use your mouse scroll to zoom in and zoom out the map. So make sure that the only selected feature is the map itself before you click on move item content. Okay, so let's move it a bit to the center. Okay, so what are the other map symbols or map elements that we can add here in our layout? We can add a title. So with that, let's just use add label. So we can do um, Bhutan districts by area. And you want to make that a bit bigger. So let's choose here under appearance, font, and change the font size. So I just choose my the usual font that I use for maps. Oh, that's too small. Maybe. Yeah. So you see we have Bhutan districts by area, and you can even change the position. Now, maybe let's just put it on the center since we have so much space. You can even add a frame or add a color. So for example, the background want it to be darker. And then if you do that, your font color should be white. So make sure that you play with the contrast of colors. So usually for hot maps, we have hot colors, and that we follow those colors so that our branding will be uniform all throughout the hubs and for other purposes. Yes, is this for the labeling or for this for the title? Because we could also really create vertical text. So let's go back to the data view. For the label, here, the text orientation here is horizontal, but if we want to do it vertically, then it will be automatically vertical. You can also do rotation based if you like, but there's no curves. If you like your layers have circles, then it will follow the rotation of that circle or the circumference. But if for our layer, we only have horizontal and vertical options. So if you have layers or buildings that you want to label this way, then you can do it quickly under the formatting. Okay, so let's go back to the map layout. So now we have a title. So let's add another map element, legend. So for example, I want to add it here. So usually, my design instincts. So this is a personal thing for me. If the map is portrait, usually I have more space here. So I put the label on the upper right corner, upper left corner. But if it's for what do you call this, landscape, I usually put it under or over here so that it will take the empty spaces. Okay. So land use scholars, I think it is case to case basis because I'm based in the Philippines and we have land use specific land use scholars. So let me configure symbol here. For the Philippines, we have specific land use colors. We have, for example, commercial. We have for estuaries, for foreshore lands. We have for forest, general commercial zones. So I think it will be based on your country of residence if you have specific land use colors. But for hot, we don't have yet, but maybe we're actually in the process of creating a more detailed guidelines in terms of mapping within hot. So maybe we can share that to you when we have finished the documentation and the QGIS plugin. So we're planning to create a plugin for more uniform layout of maps from hot. So you could also explore from your local government units, from your mapping offices if they have designated colors for land use. Okay. Thank you also for the question. So going back, these are our legend, and you can see that the other non-active layers are included. So in order to delete these, we need to uncheck this auto update option. So once we uncheck it, we can just select these layers and choose this minus symbol to remove it from our legend. And then for this name, I don't want it to be reprojected button admin. I can just double click on the name and change it to Bhutan district area, and make sure that if you are representing a specific parameter, you indicate the units. So for me, it's square meters. So SQM. So I can see that the legend is a bit small. So if I move down below, you have fonts and text formatting. So I think it's subgroup. The Bhutan district area is a subgroup font. So I want usually when you create a map, just stick with 2 to 3 font styles so it won't appear messy. So for example, let's choose 20. Hmm, it doesn't look that good, so there. And then for the items, basically the area values, since it's 20, maybe 16, there. Okay. So later on, since you don't have too much time, you can play around with the formatting and add different symbology. For example, here, I can actually change the shape. So this is we have different QGIS patches. So here the shape of my legend are boxes, but I have different patches loaded here. So maybe I could send you the link to download these patches. And if you select them, wait, you see that the legend symbology are changing. So if you are mapping buildings and you want to change your symbology shape to a building, then we have that option as well. So let me just use natural. Maybe this is for ponds, rivers, but I think it's also applicable for administrative boundaries. Okay, so with that, let's add another map element, which is the scale bar. So the scale bar is pretty much automatic. So sometimes I don't really need to edit it. If I want it to be in meters, then it will be very long. So I think QGIS knows what units to use. So it's in kilometers. And you can change and customize the style if you want under display. So play around it if you want to change the styling of the scale bar. So you can also add a north arrow. So for the north arrow, okay, this is too big. So you can change the scale of the north arrow. Usually I just put an arrow here and it is quite easy to understand that it is facing north. Okay. So we have the title, we have the legend, we have the north arrow and the scale. So what other elements do you think are missing? So can you answer or type it in the chat box if you would like to uh, tell me what other elements? Grid. Yeah, Pragya, that's correct. But for now, I think I won't be adding a grid. Usually, grid is very important if you are creating a map for navigation. But for this one, it's just a visualization of area. So you can not add a grid. But that is highly recommended. Yes, correct, Chen. Correct. You all are correct. All those information, narrative information are not yet here. So we have coordinate system, author, and source of data. That's correct. So how do we add it? just like how we added the title, we can just create here a text box, and we can add the coordinate reference system. So it's not WGS 84. What we use is this one. So let me just copy and paste. And we need to add the data sources. So for the administrative boundary, we use the JDM. Button administrative boundary. And also, if you want to add when was it retrieved for data sets that are continuously being updated, you could also add retrieved on, for example, November 2022. So that people would know that this data is applicable only November 2022. And then lastly, the cartographer or the author. So add Honey from Buena. And since it's a bit small, I can adjust the font size here. Maybe around 14. There. Somewhere there. All right. So it's not really refined, but at least we have all the important elements of a map. Yes, date. So we have November 2022. Yeah. So going back to the presentation, we know how to add the setup. We have added the legend, the scale bar, the title, the north arrow. And then for this last part, just to remind you, when you are mapping, make sure that you have balance in the elements, especially when you see a map that is very concentrated on one side. For example, all elements are on the right side. You need to have a balance and make sure that there are no significant white spaces or empty spaces. So for example, in our map, if I, for example, place it here, maybe here, then you will see that there is a significant empty space over here. So just make sure that you have a balance of these elements. And now you can simply just go to layout and export it as a PDF. There. You can either export it as image, as an SVG, if you want to further improve it in your Photoshop or Illustrator, and then export it as PDF. So if we try to open it, we have created this map showing Buton districts by area. So I think that's it for our session on QGIS exports and layouts. If you have more questions, I'll be here on standby. Just chat away or just unmute to ask your question.
Any questions? Any questions, Derek? Any particular questions from you?
No, I don't have any questions right now, but I'll need this recording because there are certain things which I have forgot immediately. So I'll need to go back and do some revision.
Awesome. I will share as soon as it is processed. Any other questions from the other teams? All right. It looks like we have no questions. Yeah, again, thank you so much, Hani, for the session. It has been really detailed and good. I've loved it personally. So yeah, thank you for accepting to train us. And in case of any questions from the interns, I will redirect them to you and then I'll give them feedback in the channel. Otherwise, as usual, this recording is going to be processed as soon as it's complete. I'll be able to share it with all of you guys. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Maybe another thing is we have a later session by another person. It's going to be the same, but if you'd like, you can as well come. It's going to be by Michael. He's from the ESA Hub. Yeah. That's it. Thank you, everyone. See you on Slack.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, honey.